Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video, I would like to address another important interview question in DevOps and SRE interviews, which one of my subscriber asked me. So I wanted to make a video on that. The question is, what is the difference between a deployment and a release? So on my screen right now, you are seeing a diagram, which I'm going to use to explain this concept. So I will talk about a very generalized way by which you will be able to understand. When you are working for a company and the company is following all the DevOps practices, so there you will have some developers that you will be supporting, developers or developer teams basically. So how the developers will be working there? They will be working in something called a sprint. So there will be a sprint cycle. Okay, sprint is like some small project that you have been given to work on, and within that project you will create a sprint. Okay, so we are going to create a ticket in Jira tool, for example. So Jira is the most common tool that we use to uh, document all the tasks or all the activities that we are doing for a particular project, or it is called a sprint. Actually, sprint cycle basically it's called. And in general, a sprint is like of 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So let's suppose that we have a 2 week sprint where we are working, and we have a repo, an SCM repo in GitLab. Okay, this is the GitLab icon here. So now the developer has been given a task to do some changes on a live production website. Okay, so how the things are going to work, that he will be assigned a ticket in Jira against which he will start working on it as part of his sprint cycle. Now, the difference between deployment and release is when the developer is making any changes to the repo, okay, it's going to trigger a pipeline. Okay, I'm talking about a very generalized scenario where you will have a pipeline where you will have different stages, as you can see in the diagram. So whenever the developer makes any changes to this repo, it's going to trigger a pipeline, and it's going to deploy his change to a platform. For example, this platform is EKS cluster in AWS. So whatever changes he is doing, it's going to trigger a CI/CD pipeline, and at the end of the day, it's going to deploy a pod in an EKS cluster. So this entire thing is called a deployment. Okay, this is called a deployment. Now, a deployment becomes a release only when your application becomes available to users, to live users. Okay, so this is the main difference between deployment and release. Okay, but I'll talk a few more things about it. So here I have taken the example of dev environment, if you see. Okay, because that's how the things move. Okay, so as part of your sprint life cycle, you do a deployment generally on day-to-day basis. Okay, maybe you will do like 2 or 3 deployments daily. Okay, so deployment happens very often because it is not related to anything that the users are going to see. Okay, whatever changes you are making here, those changes will not be visible to the actual live users or the end users. Okay, so whenever you make any change, it's going to trigger a pipeline. The pipeline is going to start deploying your code to the platform that you're using. Here I have taken the example of EKS cluster. Okay, so this is called a deployment. So you are able to deploy your code. Okay, it can be any environment. It can be development environment, it can be QA, it can be even prod also. Okay, so until and unless whatever you have deployed in either of the environments, if it is not available to users, it's called a deployment. So release means the changes that you're deploying are available to users now. It becomes a release then. So you actually release to end users. Okay, so actually in real world also, how we use these terms, we say, okay, I'm doing a deployment. Okay, and when we are actually doing the deployment in production, we say it, I mean, we call it release, that we're going to do a production release on this date. So like, please be available. Okay, if something goes wrong, just be available to support it. So like that, we use these terms also. So just remember that deployment is any deployment, which means that whatever code change you are doing, it's going to trigger a pipeline and it's going to do a deployment. Deployment, it can be in dev, it can be in QA, or it can be in prod. Until and unless the changes that you're doing is not becoming available to users, it will not become a release. Release means that you're releasing it to the users, to the actual users, the live users who are going to use it, which is going to generate the revenue for the company basically. Okay, but generally if we talk about the changes that you want to deploy to the users, it will be via a production environment only. Okay, but in general, deployment, it can be in any environment, and release can be only when you are releasing the changes to the actual users. Okay, here I've just taken a very generalized scenario where you start your deployment with the dev environment. Once you have the final version of your application in dev, then you promote it to QA, then it's going to be tested thoroughly, and then that same version is going to be deployed to prod, and then to expose your changes to the users, you switch your traffic to this new version. Okay, that's how it happens. So this is a release because the actual users, the live users, are going to use your updated code changes or your website which you have made changes to. Okay, so this is the difference between a deployment and release. If I just show you it in GitLab also. So this is a deployment, okay? Because I'm doing a deployment, I just push my code changes to my repo. Here the name of the repo is CI/CD new, and it triggered a pipeline which was able to deploy to dev environment. So this is a deployment, okay? So once this changes become available to users in prod, so I'm going to promote this version to QA and then to prod, and then I'm going to release it to the users. So it will become a release. So this is the difference between deployment and release. I hope the difference is clear to you. All right, guys, if you still have any questions, please reach out to me in the comment section. That's all I wanted to cover in this video, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye for now.